Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs, that's Edna Molelwa. Minister, thank you so much for joining us on Morning News today. You launched your campaign and it focuses on sustaining the resource, the sustainability of a water supply. How do you plan to do that?
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for having me. And then good afternoon, morning to your viewers. Sorry, it's, yes, indeed, water is very central to life. We always say, and this is our motto, water is life, respect it, conserve it, and enjoy it. And therefore, it is necessary that during this time we sensitize all our people during this water week that water is quite important and actually central to development. No development can actually happen without water, whether it's social or in from an economic sense. But we're also looking at the 20 years of water delivery in relation to socio-economic development. So we know, all of us indeed, that from 1994, since 1994, there's been water delivery to the tune of 98.2%. We are, 96.2%. What's wrong with me today with statistics?
We understand you've had a long day.
95.2%. We're chasing the remaining 4.8%. In other words, it's just a few people throughout the country who do not have water. But that few is quite important,
yes,
because it's mainly people in rural areas. There is, however, a number of people in townships and also in rural areas who find themselves with non-functional infrastructure, which we are attending to. It's a broken borehole here and there, either a road has fallen in or this and that, electricity has been cut and so forth. So we are attending to all those things so that there's fully delivery of water and full delivery of water for all our people,
now, Minister,
whilst we are chasing the 4.8%.
Like you say, you've looked back over the past 20 years, and with that 4.8, nearly 5% of those who don't have access to clean, drinkable water, why is it taking so long, or why has it taken so long to get these communities up and running with this basic human right?
Several issues are at play here. You know, the remaining members of the communities, as I said, these are mainly in rural areas. Let's take KZN, for instance, and Eastern Cape. You'll find that these are people in communities where there are 5 households living up the mountain, very, very high up. Just the cost to take that water there is quite high. And we have resorted to using facilities like harvesting water for them, but that has not quite been sustainable. So it's either through the topography of areas, the cost of that delivery, or even the fact that in those areas, and in some instances, there's just no water available, underground water. So we've got to make plans, and we are making those plans to actually get water from interbasin transfers through to those particular people. So the reasons are quite different. They vary from topography to just availability of water in those areas.
Can you give us can you give us a deadline? Can you give us some idea of when you hope that all of this will be completed?
Yes, I was coming to that important point. We have engaged Treasury, and there's now a new grant called, that's now the fund, that's called MWIC, that's Municipal Infrastructure, Water Infrastructure Grant. That's an amount of money to the tune of 3.2 billion rand over, allocated from the next 2 MTF, that's now from last year. This is the first year of that allocation that's happening. So we're giving ourselves more or less at most 3 years to actually wipe this backlog. And when, having done that, we shall say South Africa has now reached the universal access. You know that we have actually passed the Millennium Development Goal requirements long time ago, which is 50% plus, over 50%. Now we are heading for universal access where everybody would be having water. And this is what we're saying over the next 3 years. But we're also focusing mainly on maintenance. That makes us spend sleepless nights, because even after delivering this infrastructure and even water availability, we need to take care of infrastructure. That's more or less where we have serious problems, and that's what we're attending to as well.
Now, Minister,
we've got in front of us.
Despite all of that, a recent report by the Human Rights Commission said that government views water as an economic commodity rather than a basic human right. Just your response to that?
We have actually responded in writing to that assertion. In fact, the opposite is true. As you know, that our Constitution of South Africa recognizes water as a right and as a human right. We are going along those lines, and this is the reason why in South Africa we have water allocation in the first instance before anybody starts buying water. Allocation to the poorest of the poor, because it's not a commodity, to the RDP standard without paying 6 kiloliters free without charging. And I think the Human Rights Commission's report talks to the fact that, or the allegation that indeed that sectors like agriculture are paying lesser for water. Now we've got to also contextualize that. Whilst we have allocated water to the poorest of the poor, free of charge more often than not, and actually as it stands right now, that's what it is, they've been allocated and they are being allocated free of charge. We're also charging the industry. And that recognition that we have to promote industrial development in our country does speak to this issue of ensuring that even as we promote agricultural and industrial development in general, there's got to be charges that are not quite strangling those industries as well. I've said there's free of charge, there's a lesser charge for agriculture. So those are two different things. In fact, I think that's where we misunderstand each other and one another with the Human Rights Commission as we approach this issue.
All right, thank you very much, Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs, Edna Molelwa, there for us in Pretoria.
You deserve to know more. eNCA.com